Welcome guys, it's actually Sunday this week instead of Saturday. I was busy doing stuff yesterday. So what I want to quickly take you through, as I said last week, was having a look at the machine that I use for doing the episodes. You know, you go back to machines of old where you know, okay, if I want it to be upgradable, I'll buy a desktop. That's how it works. If I buy a laptop, then I accept that, you know, the upgrade paths are limited. And that's what I want to talk to you about my machine now, because I find it quite amusing. As we look inside this machine today, and I'm going to compare it to an older machine that I still have access to, I think it's quite amusing. I think it's very amusing, in fact. So the machine itself is an ACER, it's an ACER Aspire TC-710. So it's an Intel Core i5 processor, 6400. It's got a really, you know, bog standard NVIDIA GeForce GT 720 with 2 GB dedicated. It's got a 2 TB hard drive, and that is a mechanical hard drive. And it's got 8 gig single channel DDR3 memory, as you will see. Okay, mighty machine. And first and foremost, you know, let's have a look at the top here. We have a optical drive. That's a rarity these days. And I still make use of that, funnily enough. What have I got here at the moment? Look at that. It's the driver disk for the printer, because I thought I was going to need that shared across our network to install the software on a laptop, but now Windows 10 recognizes the printer and the scanner and everything. Dual USB at the front, SD card reader, beautiful features. What can I tell you about the wonderful ACER Aspire? Hooked up to it is the cheapest monitor they had in the shop, which is a widescreen Acer as well. I think it was about $80. Australian. The machine itself was $850. Like I said, it's about 2 or 3 years old now. And also a second monitor that I picked up at Gumtree, which is just a Flattron. So that's a 4x3 monitor. And I purposely wanted that, but because I wanted, you know, to get into retro gaming. But what I've ended up doing is I actually use the emulation on this screen, and then this screen is where I actually fire up. In fact, I'll go into it for you guys. I fire up OBS Studio. There we go. So that's OBS Studio. Generally, I will start in. I've got keyboard shortcuts set up here, so there we go. I generally start in camera mode when I'm doing stuff for you guys, and then I'll go into probably a screen share or a game share, and that's how I do that when I'm recording all in one go via the little Logitech webcam that I got at the top there. And all the audio that I grab is via this Zoom H1. Not using the internal SD card, I'm actually just going, you can see my fairly dodgy setup here, into the line in at the back of the ACER Aspire. Oh, and here's the keyboard I upgraded to. So this actually came with just broken my Donkey Kong. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Donkey Kong fell down. Is it still working? Yes, it's still working. Donkey Kong lives. Let's put him there. Okay, Donkey Kong's up there. Stay. Donkey Kong, stay. There's nothing on the screen now. Oh, Donkey Kong, no. Probably the batteries have come loose. No, no, no. Yeah, I've got stuff on the screen now, so I'll be able to sort that out. This is very important. There we go, Donkey Kong lives. I know you're all very worried about that. Donkey Kong's making noise. Stop making noise. Take your batteries out. There we go. Okay. So yeah, it actually came with this wireless keyboard and mouse. There we go, beautiful. But I've upgraded to this because it was extremely cheap, like $50 Australian at the moment. This Devastator 3 keyboard and RGB mouse. Oh, no reason why I need those features, but there it is. So good times. And there we go. That's an infinite loop of video there. So let's get rid of that. But here's the interesting thing. I think it's interesting anyway. And see how interesting it is. Let's come over here, past my ATAT walker. to this. What are we looking at? This is an old Pentium 4, but what I want to have a quick look in here today, and this machine is a complete mess, but I want us to look inside this old machine before we go and look inside the ACER, which is of course a modern machine. And how I think it's wrong, I think, to assume that if you want a machine that's upgradable, you would buy a desktop and just assume that you can happily upgrade. Okay, let's have a look inside this. Keeping in mind this is a college machine, they always buy stuff on a budget. It certainly wasn't a multimedia machine, just a standard lab machine. And let's have a look inside. Excuse the dust. First of all, we have, and this is on me, all this mess in here, by the way. I'm going to move this flue. I'm sure there's a more technical name for it, but I'm going to call it a flue. Out there. Get rid of that, just so we can see in here clearer. Okay, so we're inside the Pentium 4 now. There we go. You can see all the wonderful dust and everything in here. And this, has a fairly cool graphics card for its time. I swap between this IDE drive and this SATA drive, depending on what I'm doing. But you can see this is obviously at a stage where they were swapping over between the two, so it can have both SATA and IDE. And look at this. We got 4 RAM channels, and we have several upgrade slots. And look at all those. So we've actually got a PCIe slot there. So how many upgrade slots? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 slots there in this machine. We can see the Intel board information there. Right, that's that. Now we're going to have a look inside the ACER. Okay, so here we are inside the ACER, and the other machine didn't have that much cooling either, to be honest, although there is a big fan on the back that I've just noticed. There is a big fan at the back. Have a look at this. There is no fan here. There is nothing at all here. There is no fan at the front of the case. Nothing whatsoever. And the only fan in the entire case, other than the power supply zone fan, is the fan on the CPU. And much to my amazement, when I opened this a few weeks ago, I literally opened it every now and again. I cracked the case to remind myself what I'm thinking about doing to upgrade it, if anything, and what ports has it got available. And so I'm going to point a few things out around this board. It's quite amusing. But this CPU fan wasn't even running. This isn't the original CPU fan. The CPU fan had died. So I did a troubleshoot by taking the fan out of that machine we were just looking at, the old Pentium 4. That one fired up when I connected it to the header. So I knew it wasn't a motherboard problem. It was definitely the fan had just cocked it without warning. And I'm glad I took a poke around. Now, why did I take a poke around? Because I was looking at, there was a bargain on M.2 drives in one of the stores that I look at. And here we go. And I thought, well, have I got room for one? Well, I've got an M.2 slot here, but basically where the, there we go, where the screw would go, that's filled in with a rivet. Like, what? Can you see that? Yeah. So it's just there, where my fingernail is pointing, is what I'm talking about. I'll touch on the screen there. It's filled in with a rivet. So I can't even use that slot. I don't even want, and there's a smaller slot here, but that hasn't got anywhere further to go, and that's how the Wi-Fi is done. So it's like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm meant to do there. Now, there's also obviously the risk that if I do an M.2 drive, I can't actually boot off it anyway, so it'd be money that I can't spend. So the easiest solution is obviously I would mount a SATA on the other side of this and plug that in. So that's fine, because it's only got one SATA free, and I've got lots of SATA cables floating around here. I've only got 2 channels for RAM, which is fine. So yeah, I could do that. There's the graphics card slot, but it comes straight over. The graphics card, so PCIe, it comes straight over this slot here. So I'm not sure what graphics card I get that's not going to interfere with these plugs along here. If I get a longer graphics card, Am I actually going to be able to get one that isn't going to interfere with those? I'm going to have to be really careful what I choose. So I'd love to throw a 1050 in this, just to get a cheap 1050 Ti, 4 gig. But I'm not sure if I can even do that. Now there's some great short cards by AMD. The RX 570 is a tempting price most of the time. But to do that, well, they draw more power, which means I've got to upgrade the PSU because this PSU is pitiful. So I'm kind of stuffed. So yeah, what would you do? I always do things on a budget, as I was saying. So I could, look at the 2 wish lists. I'll put them in the description. But do I do the upgrade to the ACER? I think I'll call that wish list ACER Sleeper. It'll be on PLE, the website. So do I go with the upgrade to the ACER or the ACER Sleeper? Or do I do my AMD build, 100% AMD? You would have to have an Intel outside sticker on it after I finished it. But again, it's a budget build. This ACER has 0 cooling. What I do have in my drawers here, let me just find it. And I have worked out, I could actually mount this, but I've got to get a few bits. Look at the size of that. We tested it and it does work. A mate of mine gave me this because he bought it for his case and then worked out it wouldn't fit. By a bit of jiggery pokery and it'll be, I just might do this anyway. I could fit this fan to make up for the fact that this computer has absolutely no cooling. I'm not sure if it's going to actually cool it down or make it take off, but I think that's something we have to do. So when I get around to doing that, that's an episode in its own right. The mighty upgrade there. Oh, I've just noticed what else I've got. So yeah, we'll do that. But the next episode I'm going to do is I just want to show you what I'm using this old P4 for because, and tell you the story about that machine and why that machine is going to be a machine I don't want to ever get rid of, but it's not for me, it's for my kids. So I'll tell you about that next episode. All right, cheers guys.